What happens when one of America's favorite comedians walks onto a daytime talk show stage and decides he's not going to play along? Well, that's exactly what happened recently, because Tim Allen's appearance on The View became one of the most unforgettable moments in daytime TV history. Before I tell you what went down, make sure you hit the subscribe button and let me know in the comments whose side you're on after hearing about this heated exchange. Tim Allen was invited on The View to talk about his newest project, but the second he sat down, you could sense that the mood was already heavy. The panel looked ready for him, especially Joy Behar, who has always been upfront about her political opinions. What began as a regular celebrity interview very quickly took a turn that nobody in the studio expected. Joy opened things with what seemed like a polite welcome, thanking Tim for joining them. But anyone who has ever watched The View knows that the small talk rarely lasts. Within minutes, Joy guided the chat away from Tim's project and right into politics. She leaned forward, giving Tim that sharp look she always gives when she's gearing up for a big point. You've been open about your conservative views over the years, Tim. How do you feel about today's political climate? Tim shifted in his chair, clearly weighing whether to dodge the question or face it head-on. He decided to engage. Well, Joy, I think the political climate has always been divided. What's different now is that people can't have discussions anymore without it turning into a fight. Joy nodded, but the spark in her eyes made it clear she wasn't going to let him off easy. That's interesting, she said. But many people would argue that some voices have made it harder to even have conversations, voices that spread false information or refuse to accept basic facts. The crowd reacted with a mix of gasps and murmurs. Tim's jaw tightened just slightly. Whoopi Goldberg, sitting at the center, looked between them like a referee watching two fighters circle each other. Basic facts? Tim repeated, his tone calm but edged. See, that's part of the problem. You assume your version of facts is the only one that exists. I've been around long enough to know there's usually more to a story than the headlines suggest. Joy didn't back down. But Tim, we're not debating opinions. We're talking about things proven by evidence. Climate change is real. Vaccines save lives. Elections have results. These aren't up for debate. And I never said they were, Tim replied, his voice getting a little louder. What I'm saying is that the way we talk about these things, demonizing people who ask questions, dismissing anyone who looks at things from another angle, that's what's tearing us apart. When did simply asking a question become a crime? Sonny Hostin stepped in, trying to add balance. Tim, nobody is saying questions are criminal, but there's a line between asking sincere questions and spreading doubt about science or democracy. Tim turned to Sonny, softening a little, though his point stayed firm. Sonny, I respect you, I really do. But who decides which questions are valid and which are spreading doubt? From where I sit, it feels like only questions that don't challenge the accepted story are allowed. Joy jumped in again, unimpressed. You talk like there's some conspiracy to silence conservative voices. But conservatives are everywhere in the media. You have platforms. You have fans. What you don't get is immunity from criticism when you say things that are harmful or false. The tension in the studio was thick now. The other hosts were exchanging looks, unsure if they should jump in or let things play out. Tim leaned back, and for a moment it looked like he might cool down. But then Joy added one more line. And honestly, Tim, for someone who built a career playing the regular guy, the everyman, you seem really disconnected from what everyday Americans are actually facing. That was the spark that set everything off. Tim's expression changed in an instant. The polite smile was gone, replaced with something harder. Disconnected? His voice was low but intense. Joy, I grew up in Detroit. My dad died when I was 11. I worked construction to get through school. I've been broke. I've made mistakes. I've had to rebuild my life from nothing. Don't you dare tell me I don't understand regular Americans. The room went silent. Even the audience seemed frozen. Joy started to reply, but Tim wasn't done. You know what I think is disconnected? He continued, his words quickening. Sitting in a TV studio in New York, making millions, and telling people in the middle of the country they're stupid for worrying about their jobs, their kids, their safety. That's what's disconnected. I talk to those people. I perform in their towns. I hear their worries. And it's not what you talk about on this show every day. Joy's face flushed red, but before she could shoot back, Whoopi stepped in. All right, let's take a breath. But Joy cut her off, a rare move. No, Whoopi, I'll say it. Tim, if you're so in touch with regular Americans, why defend policies that hurt them? Tax cuts for the rich while working families struggle? Cutting social programs people need? Rolling back protections for clean air? Tim let out a frustrated laugh, the kind that comes when you're holding back anger. See, that's the problem. You've already decided that if someone disagrees with your solutions, it must mean they don't care about the problems. That's not true. We just have different ideas about how to fix things, Joy shot back, her voice rising. Tim, we've tried your ideas. Trickle-down economics, deregulation, letting corporations run wild. And the result? The wealthy get richer, and everyone else suffers. And we've tried your ideas too, Tim countered. More government spending, more rules, more programs, and people are still struggling. Maybe, just maybe, the problem is more complicated than either side wants to admit. Sarah Haynes, quiet until now, tried to redirect. Tim, do you think there's any common ground here? Something both sides can agree on? Tim sighed, pausing before answering. Yes, Sarah. I think most Americans, no matter their politics, want the same basics. They want to provide for their families. They want their kids to succeed. They want to feel safe and respected. The trouble is, politics and media make it profitable to keep us fighting instead of finding solutions. Joy quickly jumped back in. But Tim, you can't just say both sides are the same. Sometimes one side is right and the other is wrong. Standing in the middle isn't brave, it's cowardly. That word landed like a bomb. Tim's eyes narrowed, and when he spoke, his voice was low but full of restrained anger. Cowardly? You think I'm a coward because I don't toe the line with your side? Joy, I've spent my whole career saying what I believe, even when it cost me jobs, even when Hollywood turned on me. That's not cowardice. Cowardice is pretending you've got all the answers and attacking anyone who disagrees. Producers were frantically signaling, and Whoopi forced a smile. We've got to take a break, but we'll be right back with more from Tim Allen. As the cameras cut, Tim and Joy stayed locked in a silent standoff, neither blinking. The crowd buzzed with excitement, some shocked, others thrilled at the clash. But when they came back from commercial, the fight wasn't over. If anything, the break had only given both of them time to reload.